All right, hello and welcome to the Game Dev Show. I'm here with a couple new faces and one that you've definitely seen before on the show. So I guess before we get started and introduce everybody, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, share, and say hello in chat so we can all see that you're here and that you're alive and everything. So we've got, looks like we've lost a person. We got an internet connection problem, so we may end up with just the three, although I believe your eye is about to pop on in 10, 15 minutes or so. So welcome, Andrew. You're not Andrew. I get this backwards every time. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself.
I think you may have cut out, Lana, yeah.
I'm
okay,
totally,
me. Sure.
Yeah.
Hello,
Lana Lex here. So
Yep.
sorry.
My name is Lana Lex. I'm a game developer and a streamer. I stream on Twitch, and I stream the process of making games. I've been working on the current one for the past 3 years. It's been, it's been a lot of work, but it's finally at a milestone. Just put out a Kickstarter, just put out a demo. So it's kind of getting into the exciting phase. And that's pretty much what I do.
Yes. And if you haven't checked that out yet, I heard Kickstarter should be linked down below along with the Twitch channel. You should probably go sign up, just become a member, start watching the development. I think that being able to watch like a full-on game developed behind the scenes is more than worth the tiny cost of a subscription. And if you like it, you're interested at all, go support the Kickstarter too. Just go back it right now. You got, what was it, like 3 weeks left or so on the Kickstarter? Yeah. The 3 weeks. So just go do it now before you forget or get distracted, and then go check out our Twitch channel. And then we got Andrew here with his Infinity PBR / Magic Pig Games. You got any new exciting news for us, Andrew?
Well, we've got a character that's going to be coming out at some point, a Banshee character that's very exciting. 3D high fidelity character. We don't get those out too quickly these days, but this one's very exciting. It's got like over 60 or 70 animations, which is a lot, which means it's going to take me a lot longer to set it up because it also floats and crawls. And it's always a challenge to transition between floating and crawling and standing and doing other things. So
end up with a lot more animations to build, but you also don't have to worry about feet.
if they're floating, you don't, but then they can go from floating to standing. And they can go from floating to crawling, and from crawling to standing, from crawling to floating. And then if they're floating, there's also this really creepy, because it's a creepy character. It's a banshee. It's ghostly, ghastly rags and all that. And there's this one where they're just kind of like floating there. So there's like multiple states. There's 4 different states that it could be in, and then all the animations they're in, and it's going to be a challenge. So it's going to take a while to actually get out. Plus, I realized we didn't have any walking backward animation, so we need to get those added too. So there might be some more adjustments there, but it's very exciting to have it coming out. And then pretty soon, my first foray into 3D models produced from 2D art should be done modeling soon. And that will be exciting. It won't be animated right away, but it'll be rigged. So we'll see what happens there. Can
you explain that just a little bit more?
Yeah. So that was, I created a package, put on the Asset Store called Cute Baby Monsters, something like that. All very cute, sort of Pixar-ish monsters, all created with AI, our best friend. And some of the instant feedback was, "Wow, those are really cute. Are you going to make them in 3D?" And I was like, "That's actually a pretty good idea." I stumbled upon an outsourcing company that I generally don't trust. Outsourcing companies. I've had very bad experiences. Plus, I figure a lot of them are probably just taking advantage of people who couldn't find me directly. And I decided to go with them anyways. They seemed cool enough. And so far, the results are pretty good. I owe them a reply actually right now on the quote unquote potentially final results. So we'll see. And if it goes well, then I'll have 3 more produced from them. And then someone asked if I've heard of Cascadeur. I don't know exactly if that's how you pronounce it, but yes, I have heard of it. And yes, I will try it out since it's rigged. And I figure I'm not an animator, but that system, if you haven't seen it, makes it look like maybe it's easier for non-animators to operate. So we'll see. And maybe I'll make a video
about
of
that from your eye.
I did not actually heard about from my animator, Katie,
Oh, okay.
my
I heard
wonderful
about it from
animator.
Yori. He mentioned it multiple times. It seems like
Yeah,
really powerful.
yeah. She first
Yeah,
told me
I wanna
about
check
it. I
that out.
think,
Looks neat.
yeah, a year and a half ago or something when it was like way before it was available or something. And so we've been looking at it, but yeah. So we'll see.
Nice. And what do you use for the strain models? Are you doing all your own stuff, or are you outsourcing those too?
No, I'm doing those models as well. Those are probably the most time-consuming part, and I still feel like they have a ways to go before I'm finally happy and like satisfied, like they're done. Yeah.
Nice. So you do all, are you doing like all of the models for it, like the characters, the environment, and everything?
Pretty much everything. I've got like car models and like trees, a few things that are just really complex, and you can find them everywhere, like, and it's not gonna take away from, like, it's not gonna look less unique if I use a already
A
made
car,
car
yeah.
model or something.
Cars, I feel like those are like a rock in a lot of games. If it's not a racing game, it's just like a background prop, and you want it to be like a normal, realistic one so that it just kind of blends in.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Definitely.
Man,
But it's
even
fun.
Andrew
Making
doesn't make
characters,
his
it's
own
very
art.
fun. I do enjoy it, even though it takes a long time.
It's a skill. It's a tough skill. If you don't have it, you don't have it. I've learned. So I would love to do my own models, but every time it just does. It's like painting. I would love to be a painter or draw or sketch or anything like that, but my hands don't work like that. It just doesn't work. Ever since I was a kid, couldn't do a color in the lines when I was in kindergarten either. Had to do it twice. Kindergarten twice.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same.
It's just if you want to actually practice it. If you're not enjoying the practicing of it, it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah.
I have fun when we go to like a Disneyland and I can copy exactly what they do step by step and recreate something. So then I feel like I'm making art. I actually have them up on my wall because it's like the two things that I've drawn that don't look like shit, but it's literally just me copying like step by step what the artist does and having done it like dozens of times so that I know how to copy them now. But yeah, I can't imagine trying to make my own art, 2D or 3D even. It's just that's a lot of work. So that's really impressive. That's one of the things that really impressed me about the fact that you're building and releasing this game all on your own and making the art. Like just doing the code and buying all of the art on the asset store would have been an impressive feat. But doing it all on your own is freaking crazy. Oh, looks like Yori is here.
Hi.
Hello, Yori.
How are y'all doing?
It's pretty good. It's been a pretty good, busy, wild week here, but it sounds like there's a whole lot going on. And how about yourself?
Extremely busy I've been. That said, I do want to say good luck on your Kickstarter, Lana.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I just went through it again, so I have up-to-date topics to discuss. But
cool, thank you.
It's really nice.
Thanks.
I've got it up here right now. Why don't we drop it in chat and talk a little bit about it? So you say you've been working on this for 3 years now?
Yes, just about 3 years. It's every day I'm working on this.
And every day, or not every day, but most days you're streaming it, right?
Yeah, pretty much every day. Once in a while I'll take a day off streaming, but it's been almost every day for the past 3 years, all day.
Wow. So people can go back through and see kind of that process of building. You want to tell them what the game's about? And like, I mean, I know, but maybe a lot of people watching don't. You tell them kind of what it is?
Yeah. So the premise is it's a single player survival game, and it's got a strong story narrative side to it. So you're stuck inside city, like walls around a city, and it's kind of an apocalyptic situation. So you have to go and scavenge abandoned buildings. There's going to be other scavengers that you have to fend off. You have to craft and upgrade your base and make defensive equipment and melee weapons.
I am Lana Lex, and all the flow of people due to a deadly virus. As things go from bad to worse, the gates get closed.
We're
Emergency
hearing
service.
the audio from the video, Jason.
Oh, sorry. I thought I muted it. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I meant to mute that. Oh, I did mute it, and it still didn't work. Sorry. Okay.
Wow.
Continue.
Yeah, so basically that's it. You're surviving in this apocalyptic situation. It's got your classic survival game elements, keeping your stats up, but then also you're going to be making connections with the people in the building, or I mean, not in the building, in the city, and joining factions. You have like a reputation system and kind of ranking up in that faction that you choose, depending how you want to play the game. So it's kind of depends how you play as a story.
Oh, okay. And it was like you mentioned, sorry, I kind of interrupted, but like a lot of it was on the relationship building and less on the shooting part.
Well, I decided to go with no shooting because I kind of wanted to focus, like you said, on the more. I feel like it can very easily overtake the other elements when there's a shooting aspect to it. It can just become an FPS. So I wanted it to be more like survivally, like when you find an item that's useful, you're like, okay, great. How can I use this? Or you find an item, and you're like, I don't know what I can do with this, but it might come in handy for like crafting or for upgrading my base later. Or maybe somebody in the faction needs it and I can use this to trade or to just increase my reputation. And so, yeah, there is melee, but not like shooting.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's interesting because a lot of the time the shooting part just becomes like incidental. It's just like extra stuff that I have to do when I'm going through playing a lot of like the heavy story games. And I think that just avoiding that seems kind of interesting.
It also adds a bit of a sense of realism to the distress of the situation, because normal humans don't just pick up the nearest weapon and go for the head.
Right.
In America, that's what they do.
Hopefully things won't escalate to that.
No, you're very right, though. It seems a lot more realistic. You're not going to go around just headshotting every zombie and everything that pops out around the corner.
And there are no zombies. There are no zombies, which is, I think,
zombies.
Not even mushroom zombies?
No mushroom zombies even, not even those.
Oh. What was your decision with the streaming? Like, what made you start streaming the game production 3 years ago? Was that all pre-planned, or was it just you decided to try? What was the story there?
I actually started streaming about 7 years ago, long before I started this particular game. At the time, I was doing like user experience design, and I was working for banks. So it was, a good job. I enjoyed it, but I still had that like creative outlet I wanted to fulfill and the coding element. So I started getting into game development, which I'd always been interested in, kind of dabbled in. But I found there weren't very many people that I knew who were interested in it or did it. And I wanted to connect with people like that. It was hard to find others. So I was like, maybe if I stream on Twitch, I'll get to, meet new other people doing game development. And so I just started doing some of the game development learning on Twitch, and a few people kind of came in and they were really cool. We had some good conversations, and I did more and more of that. And then eventually, as I got more into game development and more into specifically Unity and 3D art, was like, now it's becoming like really appealing to me. It's the things I've always wanted to do. It's like more complicated games, more 3D, which was something that I've always liked, like the very immersive part of it. And then, so I just basically like planned for like months. I quit my job like 3 months in advance and was like, I'm just going to take some time to like dig into this thing that I've really wanted to do. And I started streaming full time while I was learning and getting into it. And, I loved it so much. I went longer than I anticipated, and sponsors started coming in, and I was able to like make ends meet doing what I loved. So I just kept going from there.
Nice.
That's very cool. Like just being able to jump in. So you quit your job just with a couple months runway and figured you're gonna try to make it and see what happens.
Well, I had been saving up for a long time. I had been living like pretty humbly, but still, working hard. So I gave 3 months notice, but I had been like kind of wanting to take some time to do this for much longer. So I did have like a good financial like security blanket there, because I had done this before with just like freelance web development, and I was like, this is not fun. I'm working harder. I'm making less money. Like I'm going back to work. I don't like this. So I was like, I'm going to give myself like a proper chance with the game development, because I know it's not going to be something I'm going to make money in like 3 months. It's going to take time to actually get there. And So yeah, so I made sure I set myself up for that.
Nice. Yeah, I've kind of when I kind of switched to working for other people and went YouTube full time, I kind of had to do the same. Just like save up, get ready, and then like figure out if this is gonna work or not. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. Give it 6 months. If it all falls apart, I can always get a job again. But yeah, luckily things went okay.
Yeah, luckily you both have heart and it's showing.
Yeah, thanks.
Whenever I have a vacation, I spend time just working on my own stuff, and I remind myself what it was like before I had the day job, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I should do this. But yes, that having that runway and then gain to the point where you can sustain yourself, that's a challenge. And I tried that, and I ran out of my money, but got the job, which is fine. I like the job. It's just sometimes it would be nice to make games all day long, every day for every day of the month.
It's more fun when you have total control over it, or a lot of control over it, though, than when you have little to none.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, when it's under your full control, you're going to make it as you want it and not as it needs to be.
That is that risk too.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, I don't know, this is maybe just a theory I have that is not true, but I've noticed that oftentimes in Hollywood, a movie will come out that's written and directed by some famous person that makes good movies, but then the movie that they write and direct is not good. And I have a theory that when a person gets to a certain level, they have the clout and the power to make things the way they want to make it. And maybe when they're the writer and director, probably the producer too, people aren't in their circle saying, maybe this isn't the right way to do it. And so they end up making these decisions in the movie that they want, but are ultimately making the movie perhaps less good. That's a very subjective thing in itself. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's always been my theory, that when a person gets to the point where they can do whatever they want, that's when they make their first terrible thing, because they didn't have the good team around them helping them do the best they could do.
Nobody correcting them.
Yeah.
Then you have the flip side where you have auteurs who do have complete control, and then they make, like, Tim Burton or Wes Anderson, and they make movies that are specifically their style, and because they have this kind of creative direction, it kind of has like a unique perspective that isn't just a combination of many people coming in and coming with one average. So I think you're right. It can go either direction, really.
Yeah, maybe everybody wants to be the auteur, right? Everybody wants that because that's very inspiring and exciting. But maybe most of us do better off by having somebody around us who's also good and can help us be better. If that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
There is an aspect to consider here where the skill and the role don't necessarily come with one another. So even if you are in the position where you can do whatever you want, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to implement it the best way. I do want to say that the intent in doing what you want is something that I'd actually heavily advocate for, because if you're making something that's not for yourself but to others, you have to make sure that they want it. If you don't know if other people want it and you don't want it yourself, who is it for? So if you're going to make something that you like, and you have the skill to follow through and actually make it to a level that you at least enjoy, hopefully you'll manage to get an audience that enjoys the same things as you.
Yeah.
That is also true.
My background with user experience, my day job is often, doing the designs for the user experience for these different apps and websites. But then big part of it was every step of the way, testing it and making sure that you had feedback, that you didn't miss something, that people understood what was happening, that everything, like, you didn't miss anything. So I would go in front of people regularly, and I've been trying to do that because, like, I am making it on my own, but with Twitch, I do get a lot of feedback, and I've been trying to also put testing in along the way to get feedback so that I don't miss something, because, like you mentioned, I don't have another person sitting there like, oh, we should maybe do this. I have to actually go out and get that feedback and then decide how to work with it.
And it's great when you have an audience like that, because they can actually point out things that you genuinely do want but have not yet realized, or things that you want but there are considerations that other types of players would want that you hadn't considered, because if it's made for you, there isn't necessarily harm in also making it something that somebody else who plays a different way can enjoy.
For sure.
So having everybody watch and like give their feedback is of amazing importance. It's crucial, even.
Yeah, it's a power diversity
like the idea
in
of
any
just
team.
going in a cave and build your game and then release it and then show it to everybody and see if anybody actually likes it, like most people
there is that saying that the person who's making a piece of content is the worst person to judge that piece of content, and it's not necessarily because they don't know what they're doing. It's because they designed it with the preemptive knowledge that it's how they wanted it to be, and they know all the details about it. This manifests a lot in games, specifically around the idea of difficulty. If you're finding people making games that have some sort of elimination avoidance, in the sense that you don't want to starve or die in combat, etc. The ones offering it are so much better at the game than everybody else, because they interact with it as it's being built. They know the ins and outs of it. If I'm making a boss in a game, I know all of its moves. I know exactly how it ticks, how many frames of the second I have until the next attack, and how I'm supposed to dodge it because I designed the attack. And I'm not going to be able to assess whether it's too difficult or it's too easy or the likes. Even my optimistic assessment of what should be easy is not going to be easy to somebody who doesn't know these things. And that's like the curse of development. You always have to have somebody by your side if you're assessing difficulty.
This is like a very important thing, I think, with developing tools. I'm working on my big tool game modules asset, and I have documentation. Documentation falls in the same trap. I know how it works, so when I'm writing the tutorials, the documentation, am I actually telling people what they need to know? And on a very basic level, when you're making your business cards, get somebody else to look at them. I went to GDC one year, way back in the day when I was working on the game The Barbarian, and I made myself very nice little cards with my name on them and a link to the website, and say it's that I make Unity assets as well, but I actually wrote Unity attests instead of assets. And I did not notice until 3 years later when a friend saw them and was like, "This is misspelled." To be fair, she was a copy editor, so she looks for those things. And I just didn't notice for 3 years. So you're blind to your own creations.
Definitely.
It's the same with code.
Yeah, that's a different thing, though. There is a name for this, but I forgot it now. Where once you've spent enough time with something, you're not noticing the small details about it because your brain autocorrects it to the correct thing. Yeah. Separate from being able to assess the difficulty of your own thing, even with the best intentions and like all the details. It's just you don't know how it would go if you didn't know all the details.
Yeah.
Second set of eyes. I always tell everybody it's like the best thing you can have when you're writing code. Just a second you get stuck. Like my son writes a lot of code all the time. He's 14, and every time he gets stuck, I'm like, just let me know. I'll come over, look at it, and it's always gonna be something really simple, like an extra curly brace or some other stupid little thing. And it's the same with my own stuff. Sometimes, a lot of the time, I'll send it over to somebody else, but now I even occasionally will show it to him, just to see if he can find the problem with a quick glance.
Do you have a rubber ducky for him?
He has his own rubber ducky. They actually gave him one in CS class. Nice. And he got an extra rubber ducky, so he has two of them on his desk now. Nice.
I need to get a physical one. I had never heard of the term rubber ducky, and for other people, I don't know the exact history of it, but it's the rubber ducky you keep that you talk to instead of talking to your colleagues, because usually when you talk to the rubber ducky, you'll solve the problem, and you don't need to bother your colleagues.
Just from explaining it.
The logic there is that by trying to explain it to somebody else, you're going through the steps that they need to reach the level of understanding the same as you. And in order to do that, you're explaining every single step. But if you get stuck explaining something to them, that means you had a caveat, a missing piece in your own knowledge, and then you're filling it out. as in the process of trying to explain it to somebody else, and then you're reaching the inconsistencies and understanding the topic better yourself by the end of the process. You don't necessarily need somebody else to be there. You just need to be able to do this process in your mind. And it's way easier for people if they actually have to explain it to someone, even if it is a rubber duck.
Yeah. Is that similar to co-coding? Is that the term? What's the term that Chris?
Pair programming.
Peer programming. What?
Not exactly.
Yeah, the mob programming, pair programming is not the same. There are a number of differences. Do you want to go there first, Jason?
Sure. So yeah, with like the rubber ducky thing, it's kind of like a one-off. You know, you got the problem, trying to solve it, and a lot of the time I don't like actually talk to anything. I'll just start to write out the question to somebody else, like say, hey, here's the situation. I'll start writing out the message, and then half the time I figure it out like while I'm writing the message. I'm like, oh, okay, this is not necessarily found the solution, but found where the solution is going to be and where I need to put it. Or a lot of time just figured out like, oh yeah, I forgot this stupid thing. Pair programming, very, very different though. In pair programming, typically what you're doing is one person is typing and just inputting stuff, and the other person is generally directing what stuff is being put in there, and then you're swapping back and forth. I found it to be really effective if you kind of swap back and forth in less than 10-minute increments, like 5 to 7 minutes, and just kind of going back and forth, because then you get a little bit of time to think while you're typing and typing out the other stuff that the other person's coming up with. But it just you end up with, I guess, a better result, at least in my experience, when you do it. And part of it is that you don't end up getting distracted at all. Like you're just nonstop effective. If you can pair with somebody who can do it nonstop with you, you can get a ridiculous amount of work done in like 6 hours or 4 hours even, because there's no pause, there's no break. The train of thought never really kind of bounces off. And if you get stuck, you get unstuck almost instantly. And the biggest benefit that I've seen is that you avoid stupid shortcuts, because when there are two people there, taking stupid shortcuts feels bad. You don't want to do it in front of people. So you actually go like, okay, here's the shortcut. Let's fix that right now. And you fix it immediately, or don't even have to put it in. And you end up with better quality code, two people that understand it, and a much faster throughput. But you do lose the ability to just sit and answer emails and kind of work at your own pace. Like it's a very intense, like fast-paced thing. Or mob programming, you bring in more people so that you can kind of you do the same kind of situation, but with 3 or 4 or 5. And if you get up to like 4 or 5 people, then it's very easy for one person to drop out, go pick their kid up from school or whatever in the middle of it, and the whole process to keep going on, and they can rejoin back in. That's kind of my rough overview. Chris Lucian give a really good talk probably about the entire thing, because he does tons of mob programming. But anybody else want to jump in and fill in some more?
Yeah, so my take on pair programming. There are a lot of things that we do when we program by ourselves that, even if we don't notice them, are inefficiencies in a way. Most of the time that we spend is spent reading and writing something to match the things that have already been written. But in the process, we have a lot of insecurities. Are we doing the right thing in any given moment as we make the patching necessary? Or do we actually understand the entire process? Are we considering every single situation? When you are in pair programming, you get a lot of benefits in this, because first off, you can match the expectations with somebody else, in that if you have an insecurity, what do they think about it? Maybe there is something you didn't consider, they did. And then you can say reduce a bug that you would have implemented because you didn't consider something. The other thing is, if you don't know how to do something and they know how to do it, they give you the solution instantly. There is no stuck or delay time between, hey, I have been spending an hour on this issue, I don't know what to do, can you come here and help me? It's immediate. Hey, how do I do this? Oh yeah, you do it like that, done. Another thing is that we are social creatures, so it does provide some of that social satisfaction of working with somebody else on something, there is a satisfaction in just working together. Even if you are an introvert, if you get along with somebody, it can be something of great joy. Another thing is that there is a reduced workload, because it's not only that you get stuck on something and that you don't know how to do and somebody gives you a solution, it's also giving you the reassurance that you will both have the same intent on working on the thing the same way. And on the most basic level, if somebody is writing code and the other person is watching, they'll catch bugs, which is huge, because yeah, you don't want to put up a piece of code, somebody has to code review it, they don't catch it on the same moment either, but because they've been attentive and saw it as it's getting developed, they caught it immediately. So yeah, it prevents the tunnel visioning, it does a ton of good stuff for increasing the efficiency of work and giving you the satisfaction as you work. There's a ton of benefits though.
I totally agree. I highly recommend it for anybody who's got an actual team. At least do some pairing, if not some mob programming.
Even if you aren't doing pair programming or mob programming, if you have a work chat channel for the tasks that you're doing, think out loud. People will bring up statements in the same vein as has been discussed here. So, hi, Paul.
Hello, everybody who hasn't seen the Nature Manufacture art. It's also linked down below. You got anything new to share with us today? Do you have a microphone? Maybe microphoneless.
Clearly, he has nothing new to talk about.
Obviously not.
No.
Well, while he
Has
figures
some
that out, I
amazing
will
things to
say
show.
the pair programming sounds very similar to when I used to go to the gym, and I found that whenever I went with a friend, I would get more working out done because I wouldn't be taking long breaks, and I wouldn't cut out early. I wouldn't say 20 minutes was enough. I don't need to do the full 30.
And you don't have to load the weights all yourself. Like half of that time is
I
saved.
never
right?
did that anyways. I just used the machines, but
oh well, you got to go change it, right? yeah.
Oh,
I totally agree. Going to the gym with somebody else is the only time I've ever been in good shape.
There is something to bring up there specifically about gyms. Having a buddy to train with you is amazing. Don't start comparing stats. As soon as you start comparing numbers, it becomes a race between the two of you and not a helpful push along.
Hello,
So-
hello.
Hey, we hear you.
Yeah, fine.
hello.
There's Steven coming up on me. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, welcome back. I got your lava up here. Is this the new one that you've been working on?
Yeah, this is the new asset we are working on. We don't have yet a final name for it, but it's update to our LVE pack with the river system, lake systems, but as you can see, we added the ability for lava to move, and there are still some secrets that we will be showcasing in upcoming weeks, because this is, I would say, 1/5 of the map that we will be showcasing when these assets come out.
Oh, nice. You can see it right here. The lava like starting to flow down and expand out and heat. Very cool. So this is coming to the asset store soon?
Yeah, in about a month. Yeah, as always, we have to check all the platforms, check all the HLPs, URPs built in on 2 or 3 different versions. Yeah, we are finalizing the map, starting to showcase some parts of it, and we are planning in about a month to get it to the store.
Wow, you guys are on fire.
Hold on to that one for a while.
About 24 hours, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So am I allowed to start asking Shader questions about this?
Always.
So just out of sheer curiosity, how are you actually implementing these lava streams? Because I'm seeing the new parts of the stream are like glowing. So I'm assuming there's like a flow map, and then the edge is the with the erosion is the part that's like the most highlighted with intensity.
As always, we are making a trick. To be truthful, the all lava stream is already on the map. The part that is below the tongue of the lava, so the part that you are saying is glowing, can you, Jason, showcase it full screen so I can? Or maybe I can
Let's make it
showcase.
big.
Oh, maybe I will give the screen. 1 second. Can I move it? Can I make it this way? Yeah. Can you
Alright,
move
let's do that one. There we go.
mine? Yeah.
Oh, well.
There we go. Oh,
Yeah,
now
you
your
see it?
face is gone. There, we'll make it bigger.
No problem. So as you see here, beautiful, the entire lava that you can see here, even downstream, is on the map. The spot that is below the moment that we showcase is under the ground. So we are making a curve there that appears and disappears. Yeah. As the lava stream is, I think this lava stream or single one can have 1,000 to 2,000 vertices. So it's not much for HDHP, yeah, because this HDHP demo, yeah. Entire lava on this mountain will have about 5,000 vertices. So we are making it quite optimized for you, and you can change them to about 100 vertices per stream. So it's however you want. So we are making here a curve, and based on the curve normals, you are making the emission. So when the curve is bigger, we get higher emission. So the beginning of this part of the steam that is showcasing at the end is glowing more. And we are just moving it with the shader slowly by the time.
That's is that going to work with the river auto material?
Uh, when we release the update to the auto material, yeah, it will work with the auto material that's also planned for the river to move down the stream.
Lava river levels, let's go.
Yeah, this is, to be truthful, many of these features are already stored in the data that's in the old version of RAM and so on. You can, I think it's hidden. We didn't use it, but we added it in the fourth UV. I think it's hidden there. So it's the distance from the beginning to the end of the lava stream. So we are taking and hiding it in the UV. We have some we have to take care into information that Unity is using second UV and third UV for light mapping.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
many people don't know that second UV is used for baked light mapping, but the third UV is used for real-time light mapping.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, I had to
Yeah.
check documentation truly to check what's
Good to
happening
know.
to each UV. And
Oh
the worst
God.
thing is that normally from the code you can use up to 8 UVs, but shader graph only lets you use 4.
Wait, there
Yeah.
isn't there.
No,
Okay,
shader graph
so
only lets you use 4 UVs.
okay, we've talked about some pretty advanced things here, so let's give everybody a bit of information. Unity has meshes, the models that you have for anything that you put in the game, trees, spheres, etc. Unity has lights, and it bakes the lights. And in order to know how to bake, to show the lights that it baked, it adds information into every mesh in the game that is basically an instance of that mesh, but with the texture coordinates mapped to a light map texture that it generates on its own. It says this portion gets this portion of the light map, draw it like that. And because it doesn't want to ruin your original texture coordinates information to know how the texture should be mapped onto the object, it has two maps for texture coordinates, except it doesn't have two, it has 8 of them. And I only knew of the one for light baking and the original one. And I planned to use the third one for my own purposes with some crazy shader stuff. But now you're telling me there is another one for real time. I'm not sure how does that work with multiple real-time lights yet, but I really want to know now, and I'm afraid. And then there is also like all the other maps. So you can do quite a lot if you put your own information into these texture coordinates for models usage, because you can't pass an infinite amount of information into a model so that it can be used in shaders in the game. And shaders are really, really good for performance if you're trying to make like fancy effects. So when you get more slots to put more information in, you can do fancier things without gigantic performance cost. One of these things is getting for animated models the original binding positions of the model. This is a bit of a more advanced topic, but I'm basically jealous of Unreal right now because they have a feature there that Unity doesn't, which is Unity changes the model that you get into the shader when you have an animated model. It basically bakes the 3D model, it modifies the mesh on the CPU side, and by the time you have a shader, it's already deformed to a point that you cannot know how it was before it did its animation. And that makes a lot of problems to distinguish between effects that say need height relative to the character as it was bound, like an effect that should only go up to the feet, even if the character is crouching. So dropping that information into extra texture coordinates is really, really convenient. And apparently I can't do it in the third coordinate right now.
Yeah, if you check in the documentation, here is only short note, yeah? But from this short note, you have to go to Lightmap UVs and read this one, yeah? It is so convoluted, so checked, but you will get this information that if you want to use 3D UV, to be truthful, the UV3, yeah? Because Unity has so bad naming for the UVs. From the code, I think it's from 1 to 8. In the shader, it's from 0 to 7, yeah?
7, yeah.
Yeah, so here is the information, yeah? So if you use UV3, you won't be able to use real-time global illumination. You have to use light probes. So you can't,
Yeah.
but there is a trick. Remember one thing. From the code, you can use UVs as float 4 rather than float 2.
Yeah.
So you can hide additional information in these two additional floats.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's additional.
Yeah, the one really bad thing about it is that it's really difficult to bake more information into them without distorting the understanding of like what the UV is, because when people offer UVs in standard digital content authoring tools like Blender, Maya, 3ds Max, etc., you only get a 2 float coordinate.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, especially as they mostly that showcased as vector 2s, yeah?
Yeah.
Even in the documentation. But you can put the vector 4 in them if you want from the code.
Yeah.
And in shader graph, there are vector 4s.
Good. One thing that, as I said, baking the pre-binding texture coordinate, the vertex positions into a UV map is extremely useful, because you do get to use 3 coordinates of space, and you can even use the 4th one for something like, say, an arbitrary calculation of how far is it from the center of the character.
And one additional thing, for example, if you use old particle system, you can take data from the particles and put them in these UV coordinates. So each particle can store up to 16 floats of data from the particle. So you can have lifetime, size, speed of the particle, and etc. That's how we are giving some effects to the particles that we have here. We are taking the data from the particle, putting it into the shader through UVs, and then giving additional things to the shaders.
So, in case people here didn't get that, in Unity's standard particle system, there is a section for custom curves that you can give to your particles. They won't be doing anything by themselves, but you can pull for them from your scripts, and you can pull for them from the shaders, and then you can have special effects that use extra information that you can still offer, like with all the types of things that a particle system lets you do, like randomization, curves, colors, and pass it off into special effect shaders. So
you
it's
can
really
even do it by code,
yeah,
by code or from the manual in the particle system. So yeah, UVs are quite, to be truthful, they are one of the main things that we are giving information from the RAM to the shader system. Yeah, and I saw the question about underwater effects. Yeah, the new RAM version, the lava won't have it on the start, but the RAM new version will have underwater effects, and they will be back traced to the new lava system as well.
Oh, nice. So that'll be for the rivers going underwater and get those effects now.
Yeah.
So how are you planning to do that? So are you like scanning if you're under a river material by a raycast, or are you doing something more fancy with a collider?
Several things altogether. Raycast, we will be giving post-process effect to, because raycast only will give you, the problem with raycast is only you're getting from the physics, physics engine, and the collider of the physics is not complicated. So many engines do this way. So for example, the Unity water system that was introduced in 2020.2.2, it just uses just simple collider that is flat. So if you have big wave, the big wave can be not underwater.
Yeah.
So we are making two things. We are first checking how far are you from the collider, and if there is a chance that the collider that you will be underwater, we are making the post-process effect that paints the entire screen in two colors. One color underwater, above water, the second color underwater. And we are using it as the map to the underwater effect.
Awesome.
So it gives you, even if you have a curve like in the ocean, so big red waves that maybe will be coming to the dam, you will be exactly shaped underwater effect. If you want, because you will be able to change. Do you want only colliders because it's faster? For simple games you can use them, but if you're making a game in a ocean or something like that you will want to have the from the image effects information.
Yeah.
I want to take these questions that keep popping up. There have been people talking about ChatGPT, OpenAI, and then there was one about good devlogs to watch, which seemed like there was an obvious answer. We've got a streamer right here just next to me doing streams daily, showing how to build an actual game, and I feel like we should pop up the Kickstarter and that again too. So let me find.
Thanks.
My window. I can't find it.
Oh,
there it is.
Did you see the new information from Microsoft and ChatGPT version 4?
Not yet.
I think Windows Central just popped it out. I gave you the link, which we can also.
We'll have to dive into that in just a second. Lana, you want to tell everybody about the Kickstarter again real quick? They can go check it out, and about the streaming, because I feel like there's a lot of people watching that probably just want to see live dev streams. I know whenever I do them, they tend to be pretty popular, but I almost never do them, and I assume that people just want actual code being written. You tell everybody about it real quick.
Yeah, thank you. I do daily dev streams. As Jason mentioned, I'm working on Strain. There's a Kickstarter going right now, so I do spend, each day. My work day on the game is done on stream live most of the day. But someone in chat, thank you for recommending it. I've also been doing like weekly devlogs on the lead up to the Kickstarter, because I haven't done a Kickstarter before, and I thought it'd be cool to take people along for the ride. So I did sort of like a little bit more information at each step, like making it the first trailer for the game, so it gets people's attention. And then I hadn't like publicly shared the game yet, so it was like starting from the first cinematic trailer, and then it follows like setting up the Kickstarter page and doing like a gameplay trailer. It follows some testing. It follows some stuff behind the scenes, like fostering kittens and little things like that. So that was a really fun way to kind of document the process if you're not caught up and you want to see a little bit more about that journey.
Yeah, I think people get a lot out of that. Seeing both development and the Kickstarter things. That's another thing that a lot of people talk about it and like the Kickstarters and share a little bit of info, but very few people kind of live share while they're doing it. Like they share the afterwards, the result. This is what went wrong. This is what worked, not what I'm doing and what go live. So I think it's super cool. It's definitely a unique experience for people to go check out.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna drop the. That's not the link to chat. How did that get on my clipboard? There it is.
Lana's streams are great. I watched them quite a few times.
There's
Right.
also a lot of benefit in watching how somebody develops an actual long-term game over time and making actual real serious decisions instead of like the tutorials that only go, hey, here is a new tool from Unity, how to use that 5 seconds, and not considering any serious complicated problems. So that come from long-term game development. So that's really nice.
Yeah, it's a very, very different experience, different problems that you end up having to solve, and things. You see the actual cost of bad decisions early on, and when they come back to bite you and stuff, you got to go readjust and change things, which I'm sure has probably happened a couple times. And you see kind of the growth along the way. By the way, there was a question earlier. Did you start streaming like when you started learning Unity stuff in game development, or were you already kind of somewhat familiar before you started those streams?
I had done other types of game development. I had done a number of Flash games quite a while back as a hobbyist, and I'd done a little bit of Swift and a lot of different things. But yeah, I did actually a JavaScript game on stream when I was first starting, but I did start my real delve into Unity was on stream, but it was quite a while ago. I know somebody asked, unfortunately, Twitch only keeps your VODs, like your recordings of your streams, for up to 3 months. So I don't have those original videos, but yeah, it was on stream where I started.
Oh yeah, you gotta save them all off to YouTube for later.
They're like 12 to 14 hours every day. It's so much data.
Yeah,
So
that's what YouTube likes. It likes the nice long videos with lots of ad breaks.
It must consume.
Videos where people fall asleep and they don't realize it's a 3-minute ad that they just let run, and YouTube makes their money.
Oh yeah, that happens to me all the time.
I always turn on Andrew streams and I hang out for like the amount of time that I can stay awake, but it's like always at 5 a.m. for me. So I fall asleep to the lulling of his voices as he develops.
I assume most of the people on my streams are doing exactly that, and I appreciate it.
I found out that you're good at putting my babies to sleep too.
I've got skills.
Yeah, there are a couple YouTubers I can turn on that don't scream, randomly shout, or have a wild volume change, and just talk nice and chill, and put any one of them on and they just knock right out.
Dreams Hopefully of serialization systems.
What's that?
Dreams of serialization systems.
Yeah.
Speaking of in Strain, Lana, do you actually do a lot of tracking of base building and like facts about what the player has done? Do you use that in any capacity in the game for quests and whatnot, interactions between NPCs?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I thought you meant for like analytics, which
no,
different question. And the answer to that one is not yet, and I'm looking forward to that part. But yes, there is different tracking and different sort of behind the scenes happening. Like there was a really good GDC talk that we watched recently about relationships in games and how it's very easy to implement one that's very shallow and kind of meaningless.
I know the talk.
Yeah, and so I've been trying to work out like a relationship building system that feels genuine and like authentic, not just like here's a quest, here's a gift, here's a quest, and like now you're gonna get married. Like it doesn't actually make a lot of sense. So I'm trying to work that out, and other systems like that as well. Like your reputation system and the choices you make in the game should affect your interaction with people, should affect your relationships with people, and it should affect your reputation to the group of people who have a certain belief system.
That's really nice that you're taking on that talk and implementing it promptly. So for the people who haven't seen that yet, there is a channel on YouTube called GDC, which is the Game Developer Convention, I think. And they have a lot of amazing talks, one of which the recent topics covered was the idea of kindness coins, where in most games there are shallow relationship systems that are relatively transactory in that you do a nice thing for an NPC, the NPC likes you more. You do a nice thing for an NPC, the NPC likes you more. And regardless of your emotional investment in trying to be more favorable to that NPC, you're just treating them like a vending machine where you put in effort and they give you affection. And some players will seek something more nuanced than that. And it talks about the ways you can achieve a more nuanced system and what you would need to change to get that. So that's the topic we've been discussing right now.
It's on my watch later list now. I haven't seen this one, so I'm going to check it out. Is this the one you were talking about?
That's the one, yeah.
I see. This looks interesting. So you're just saying not supposed to just give them back their rewards, go kill some rats, and then they give you all the prizes, and that's the end of it. I've noticed that most, especially in MMOs, like the relationship stuff is totally terrible. So I wonder how. Sorry, I guess it's got me thinking and getting a little getting distracted.
So
yeah,
first, to the people asking what is the full name of the talk, it's Kindness Coins or Chemistry Casino, a new take on romantic sexual narrative design. And in the sense of, is it bad? It's not. It's something that some players may seek, but others may seek something more nuanced. It's about what do you want out of the game. A more nuanced system will have you put in more effort to be specifically liked by a single person. A more shallow system will demand less of you as a player, which is something that you may necessarily want if you're being demanded a lot of things from other domains of your life. So depends on what you're seeking. You may want this or that. Neither is bad.
Fair enough. All right, let's talk ChatGPT for a minute, because if it pops up, Paul, you shared this, and this is exciting. I don't know if all of you have been as excited about the ChatGPT stuff as I have been, but I don't think anybody who hasn't had a demo yet. I called my mom, every relative that I have, and every friend that doesn't know how to use her, and showed them all ChatGPT, and they all got excited and had a lot of fun. They've been doing lots of cool stuff, and some of them actually using it in their business now. It's kind of crazy. Now it's on version 3, and you just sharing that version 4 is coming soon.
Yeah, Microsoft, which gave quite a big amount of money to OpenAI, is about to implement GPT-4 into the Bing. In next,
nice. Yeah, $10 billion they gave them, right?
Yeah, exactly. In next several weeks, from the information they gave.
This is going into the calamity spiral with how fast these things are evolving.
Yeah, you can also check about the OpenAI and similar things. You can check the YouTube link I gave also, because they are first tries or the systems that transfer not the images, but they make entire videos out of text.
That's going to be crazy. Start generating videos.
Happening with my camera, I see.
You gotta check
I don't
your
know
shaders.
what. I think the AI is fighting back right now and destroying your picture. But yeah, I'm super excited about this stuff, because I think it's gonna change a lot. And I kind of also want to talk. It's gonna do to software development. What happened to your background? Oh,
no,
wait, you're not in the forest? Yeah. Oh, there we go.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, looked like you had to work.
It's a manufacturer of nature, you know.
That was a really weird virtual background you had on for a second.
No, no, this one is my natural. Yeah, hey. And I don't know, NVIDIA broadcaster just killed.
It's deciding to run at different FPS.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this stuff is totally changing. Probably.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen that GPT is going to introduce, I think it's the $20 version.
Yeah, so ChatGPT Pro, and it's starting off in the US only, which means I'm sad because I'm not in the US.
Not only you.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the Pro and the regular version?
The Pro version won't have the hangups that has the limited version. Yeah. So today, if there's too many people connecting, you're logged out and you can't come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the paid version won't do that.
Oh,
that is the first most important thing.
It wants to give you general access even during peak times and faster response times and priority access to new features, basically. Which, I mean, everybody wants the newer features and better AI as soon as it comes, right?
Yeah, that's what when they put up the survey. I think I put it at $20 a month. I would have to buy it. I was like, yeah, I probably have to sign up because I can't miss out on that.
The only problem is that it's first for only US.
I feel sorry for all of you, but Andrew. Lena, have you played with the ChatGPT stuff at all?
I have, yeah. It's so cool. I think I've tried it with Unity and didn't have great results, but I only did a little bit of that. I actually find it more interesting for like ideation, and when I'm like refining stories, I can put in the script or the story and be like, make this cooler. And like sometimes it just comes up with like some stuff like, oh, that's actually a good little thing to put in. So yeah,
that's really cool. Where I found it to be most helpful for myself too, was with like coming up with like general stories and outlines of stuff, because I'm terrible at story writing. Code I can write, but like stories and characters and stuff I struggle with. So I'm like, give me 3 variations of a story of this character. And I actually did one for the new coursework stuff that I did recently. I went through and had it write up like a little story for my characters. I don't know that I'll introduce it very much, but I used it kind of throughout my level design and thinking. And I found it to be really helpful for that and for doing just like bullet point plans and writing out documents. But I think that with code, it's probably going to eventually just take over. I think that like maybe in the next couple years, next 5 years or so, software development jobs will probably level off. The growth will disappear, and then they'll start to kind of turn around. And I think a lot of the beginnery intro, the lower tier software development jobs are going to disappear really quick. And then the other ones are going to follow behind. I'm always wrong on my predictions though, so I'll probably be completely wrong and opposite. But
you're scaring all the people. You're scaring all the folks who are like, but I just started college for
You've only got 5 years left. And then
to be fair, the AIs are already doing that for things like image authoring, because the AI can draw.
Concept
the
art,
AI can make
concept
poems.
Art market is dying.
I think it's going to change. Obviously, it's going to change, but I don't think there will be fewer jobs. I think just the jobs will become more specific, and maybe as part of this process, just more people will be producing content, which even if there's less jobs per application, there could be more jobs total in aggregate. And you know, for the coding stuff in specifically, I envision a world, and maybe I'm wrong too, but I envision a world where eventually the stuff is built into Unity and it sees your project, just like Ryder sees your project and knows all the different variable names you're using and suggests things. This will suggest things and say, hey, I noticed you're doing something. Did you know that there's a different way? Or did you know that you already built this method in another class that you should probably just use that instead? A tool that essentially kind of pair programs with you a little bit, I guess, in a way, if you can say that. I don't know if you can say that, but and it helps you out. And for a lot of learners, that will be like how you learn, by somebody telling you hopefully the right suggestions in the future.
So there's something that I want to bring up here, which is ChatGPT, and for the most part, any AI that requires a prompt from you is just a tool. And by that, I mean, it's not going to replace your job. It's going to replace people who are not using the tool. Books do not replace teachers. They replace teachers who don't use books. Farming machines don't replace farmers. They replace farmers who don't use farming tools. The same will go for ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not going to replace programmers. It's going to replace programmers who don't use ChatGPT. To a certain degree, because you can do things without it, but it can do a lot of things that you have the intent, and you just need something to execute that intent. And if it can execute it the same way as you, by just describing your intent, its intent made manifest with the least steps possible, it's going to be the best way to do things. So if you're not doing things the best way, why would people want to hire you? you're wasting time for no real tangible benefit.
Yeah.
It can get things wrong. You can get things wrong as well. But generally speaking,
no, humans never mess up.
Yeah, right.
Humans always write perfect code.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it'll allow us to do cooler things, and then instead of doing things that we were doing before, like writing out lines of code, it will just change the type of job people have. So instead of a copywriter sitting there writing, or I don't even know, like a narrative designer sitting there writing out the scripts for all the NPCs, how cool would it be if the narrative designer is now training the AI for that NPC to give like infinite conversation, and like, now we have cooler things, and it's just a different type of job now. So hopefully it won't be the end of people's jobs. We'll be doing different things and making cooler stuff.
Yeah, well, it's going to let you focus on doing the more cooler stuff because it's a force multiplier. If you don't know how to use a tool, the tool is useless. If you know how to use a tool, it can save you time doing things that you would have done without the tool. So I can totally see a universe. We see it right now, where people use AI to speed up their works up to 10 times as fast. People who use generative authoring for, say, scripts don't have to learn how to search any function of the engine to find the one that they need to use it with what arguments it expects to do a certain, I don't know, thingamajig to get the function they wanted in the game. They're just focusing on making the game. It lets them hone in on the thing that they actually want to do and not the thing that they need to understand in order to do what they want to do. For example, I know how to make a script in Unity that says, look at a skinned mesh renderer, get me all the bones, look at another skinned mesh renderer, check all its bones, whichever ones have matching names, make these bones be children of that bone, so now the models follow each other without me doing anything more convoluted, because there are solutions for that. And ChatGPT just got it right off the first time. I didn't have to spend a single moment of my time writing all the methods to go through the hierarchy and the list of skin mesh bones and iterating on them in non-standard ways in case they don't fully match. It just did it all. So there we go. Tons of time saved, and I can just focus on what I wanted, which is making clothes for characters that follow the characters. And now I can just make a ton of content and drop it in.
Yeah, for example, the last link I gave to YouTube, somebody said, imagine having NPCs dialogue being made live by ChatGPT in game. The link that I gave to YouTube, this is a tutorial and the link to SDK that does that already in Unity. Somebody made a tutorial on YouTube with GitHub repo, and there's a GitHub repo in the info that showcases how to make an NPC that uses ChatGPT as NPC.
Yeah, let's pull this up. I saw another one. I'm trying to remember the name of it too. A couple days ago, that did allowed you to train an NPC where you gave it some backstory data stuff, and then it generated the
Here you do the same. You take the NPC, you give him backstory, and then it starts from that moment.
Oh, okay.
So when you start talking with him, it uses your, because it's editor scripts that you can give to the NPC, you give the chat window and so on, and you input the first beginning that's sent to ChatGPT that gives the background story, and then the ChatGPT just generates you all from that point. Yeah, and the more info you gave it at the start, the more concrete NPC you have for you to connect to.
I wonder how
quite
that.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
How would that, Pavel, play into the whole relationship conversation we had earlier? I need to watch that GDC talk too, but I would imagine that if we're able to somehow feed all the bunch of data to this chat system, maybe not now, maybe in the future, of what the player's been doing and all this other stuff, and how an NPC might feel about what the player has done, how would that help build relationships that feel more real?
Yeah,
So
I think it would depend how good ChatGPT would be in creating stories. Yeah, because we can see already that it can create quite good stories, quite good novels, even between the persons. So I think it would depend how much data you can store inside this neural network that will give you back the information.
So there's something I want to bring up here, which is probably important for this, which is ChatGPT doesn't actually understand what you're telling it. It's just it has good pattern recognition. Therefore, when it reads your sentence and it heard some sentences before, it's going to give a sentence that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. And that means that a lot of things can go awry if you're trying to make something coherent. Let me give an example. Say you have a kid who is playing basketball, and you want to, I don't know, take his basketball and throw it off a cliff, but there is no cliff nearby. Because you included a cliff in your sentence, the AI is not going to be able to refute what you say, because in narrative, in stories, in books that are written, new information is included in almost every single sentence, and it's just accepted as a thing that is there. An adventurer walks into a bar, you don't know what they are wearing, what is their profession, you don't know if they're a mage holding a sword or if they are a priest holding a Bible. You don't know. Which means they can also pull out a gun, they can also pull out a magic bag that has a cat in it, and it is just accepted as a fact by the AI and it uses it. So, if you are in a medieval world and you say that you take a gun, because a gun exists in the idea of narratives, and the AI doesn't know to reject it because it's acceptable for things to be introduced in the middle, it's just going to accept that it exists. It's not going to be able to pull your inventory and say, hey, you don't have a gun, you can't do that. You didn't tell it, and it was never trained on that. This is a huge limitation of ChatGPT right there. What?
It's the training.
Yeah, the training is on general knowledge, though. It's not about
For me, you're right. But for me, the next step for making it use of ChatGPT in games would be the same thing that you can do. You do, for example, with Stable Diffusion, yeah, because you can take the basic Stable Diffusion, let's say 1.5, but you can take it, use Limbo or something, train your own textual inversion of this, and it will stick to what you gave it additionally. So if we had added later option in ChatGPT to train additional info, so for some example, the word, the restrictions, etc., then it shouldn't go out of what you trained it. Yeah. So it's still the moment for me, ChatGPT is not at this level. But for me, in the near future, if you will be able to train and give restriction to the knowledge that it can use in this setting, and it won't go outside of this setting, then it's possible, the same as with Stable Diffusion, you are possible to make it generate only images that are anime, yeah? Because you can make your own module that will only generate you anime information, yeah? So if we get something like that in ChatGPT, then we can make a game that will use ChatGPT as background for the stories and for the NPCs. But yeah, for now it's not possible from
Too
the
broad.
points that you said. Yeah, it's too broad, and you can. But I think it's the same with all the chatbots that we have till this moment. Yeah, you can always, if you are kind of clever enough to think of some convoluted possibility to make it work differently, you can. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you can always just offer what it says, and before you let the text actually go down to the user, you can just reject it if something goes wrong. And this is basically brute forcing, where you say, hey, I know you're going to make mistakes. I don't mind. I'm going to catch all of them. Just generate something until I'm proving it. Right now, it's going to be way too slow to do that. The API is also going to require constant internet connection, which is not exactly very appealing, because that means your game is always online, and if the service goes down, your game doesn't work. Among other things.
I don't know at all about the feasibility of this, but obviously having a system like this, or a small version of a system like this, that's not connected to the internet, that's on the device, would be ideal. if there were a ton of guardrails, a ton of pre-trained data about the world, about the system, like imagine right now ChatGPT can write any story you ask it to write. What if you limit that to say write only haikus? And so it's basically like trained to just do this one thing, and it cannot write anything else because whatever system limits it, or it just doesn't have the information or something. Would that be in some future, years from now, maybe months from now, weeks from now, days from now, who knows how fast it goes, but would that be the type of thing that could then be put on a device and be not connected to the internet and also have so much limitations that it reduces the risk of a gun being pulled out in a fantasy world?
So without knowing how words are used in sentences, it's not going to be able to do any of that. So you need the entire dictionary worth of understanding of words in order to be able to write haikus. Go ahead.
Just a funny idea. You can always try to use ChatGPT. You have one ChatGPT to talk with it, and second ChatGPT trained to check if this information you decide is all right. So if you pull up a gun in the medieval times, the one will give you, and then the second one asks, is this gun possible in this set? Is this element possible in this setting?
And you're trying to make a ChatGPT part.
We need to mix ChatGPT with voice, AI voices with AI music. Once you get all that together, you could have AI bards in a game.
So
just singing your song.
But you also need AI 3D models and AI animation to go along with it. So there's
AI
5
3D models
systems.
Definitely gonna be here soon.
I think that's going to take longer. Like good ones, at least, will take longer.
So, what's the real timeline?
I don't know. You're asking me about AI, about predictions? Do I look like the person who does predictions to you?
Yes.
Yeah,
I trust you.
I refuse.
I think it's
go on.
for 3D models and movies. I think it's still a year or two away, at least. Because 2 things I want to talk about. Two. One is about layouts, and let's first talk about limits. Because this is, I think, the best model I saw, except for NVIDIA's, that showcases usage of movies and AI. So this one takes some movie as input and then transforms it depending on the input from the person. If you can move to around, I would say 3 minutes, something like that. There's some samples that get there. It gives some examples that they take the input video, add a puppy, for example, in the hat, and the AI transforms this one. But to be truthful, it mostly works on images. It takes first decouples the movie to scene to image by image, and then gets it together. So it's still quite long ago. This is something that I saw in the images, for example, for the generation of images about 5 years ago. So we are on this level with the video. And the same I would say with the 3D models generation.
This stuff in this. I haven't actually seen this one. This is very cool. I don't know. I feel like 3D models will be here soon, like you said, a year or less, than everything else. I'm using it constantly for 2D stuff, so I can really see it just taking over everything. Looks like Johnny's here. Hey, Johnny.
So to try and explain a bit more on the state of where we are with AI now, and I do think this is something to close the topic with, because AI keeps moving at an extremely rapid pace. So talking about where it will be, we don't know what research is not published, so we can't talk about where it will be reliably. Where it is now is in a state where we are not seeing reliable 3D model generation yet, even with the new one that just entered alpha. Models are extremely difficult to train because there is no reliable set of information outside of rasterization, which means taking a state of the model, squishing it down into one representation, and then comparing that to description of that model. Because in reality, unlike pixels where it's like this pixel is here and it's this color and it's completely disassociated with anything else around it, models don't work like that. You have a point in 3D space that is disassociated with everything else, but which points is it connected to is not. And those maps are extremely difficult to train in a way that's going to make a reliable 3D mesh in the end, because you don't want a human where the tip of the toe is connected to the neck. Just because the
Maybe you don't.
Fair. I don't know why I'm here. Goodbye.
You're
This
making
is
the wrong
GameDev
kind of
show.
games, Uri.
Sorry, I'm in the AI show. Yeah, so it's extremely difficult to train without taking away those limitations. One thing that I've seen being discussed a lot is rasterizing 3D models into voxels. So it's a representation similar to the original model, but out of 3D pixels that are disassociated from everything else, and then training on that, and then deconstructing it back into what would be a model. But it's not great, and it's also extremely expensive performance-wise, because you're making a 3D grid that has to encapsulate a ton of points. Even just 100 by 100 by 100 area is already 1,000,000 points worth of just constructing the grid. And then you actually have to fill it with the representation of the model, which also requires a lot of convoluted math if in case you have a non-convex mesh in order to turn it into voxels. Long story short, we're still very far away from having a good speed of teaching about 3D model generation, and then actually having a generator that's reliable to iterate on. It's a mess. I don't know what other
Yeah,
research is like being proposed about this.
I can take one quick example. Yeah, photogrammetry. We are using it quite a lot to generate models. To be truthful, it's taking images and connecting them together to have a model. Yeah, so connecting even a log that we have about, let's say, 50 to 100 images can take a couple of hours of generating, taking the mesh apart, generating point cloud, then connecting the point cloud, generating the image, etc. It takes about several hours on good quality computer right now. Yeah, and it's already using AI backends for it. We are using all of the newest ones, alpha, beta versions of the best programs that we have, because we are constantly checking each program how it works. Yeah, we have several programs, each working. For example, we have one program for generating logs. We use different program to generate trees. We are using different program for something. Yeah, and it takes several hours for simple model. The more back-end models, if you have i9, the best i9 that is available on the market with 4080, it still takes several hours for single model to generate. Yeah. So okay, for the low poly models, etc., it's possible in a year or two. But for lead time models, I think movies will be faster than 3D models.
Yeah, we already have animated. Yeah.
Yeah, because movies is just images one by one. Yeah, we have generation of images, but generation of 3D space and analyzing 3D space, that is totally different level of complexity.
I hope you're wrong, because I really want 3D generated models where I can just type something in
Not
and
only
get a
you,
whole bunch of
not
them
only you.
back.
To be truthful, if we could do, even if you could do one model in 20 minutes rather than 4 hours, that would be a big jump for us.
Yeah, but there is right now an intermediate solution that is being proposed where, since we can generate images really fast and we have the code to take an image and try to turn that into a model, like a perception of depth, we can just generate an image of depth and then take that depth and turn that into a model. That is a proposition, but it's not the same as 3D generative models based on being just a model. You could try and make something intermediate like that. Also, for people talking about AI assisted game development and Cascadeur, which has AI assisted posing, those are absolutely going to be a thing and are amazing. I have used Cascadeur before myself. I advocate for it a lot. I am still trying to automate it even more than it automates for me right now. For those not in the know, basically you have a human assistance for posing. If you have a humanoid model, it gives you control points, and you just change those control points around, and it's trying to make the most physically accurate, most humanoid animation variation for the intermediate bones in that pose. So if you're trying to have a hand reach out the door, it will make the person lean in a bit more with the hand that's actually reaching out. It's going to figure out the best pose to put the elbow. It's going to figure out if the person is also going to try and lean their leg forward to support their own weight, and the likes of that. So that's giving you incredibly high quality animation in an extremely low amount of time. And it also has things like ballistics trajectory corrections. If your pose isn't physically stable, it's going to let you see how it could be physically stable and let you choose if you want to use that. And yes, we are talking about Cascadeur right now. In regards to why that is already a thing, AI assisted animations, it's because animations are an extremely small subset that's extremely consistent in the information that it's presenting. Specifically, a bone just has a direction of where it's actually pointing at and whatever rolling it has. So this finger is pointing sideways, upwards, and the axle it's turning around can change wherever. But it is a really small amount of information. This can be presented in free floats if we're using Euler angles, or 4 if we're using quaternions. And we can do that for every part of the human bones, the human body. And in Unity's case, a humanoid only has 32 bones. So it's an extremely small amount of information per frame, and you can generate all of that, drop every 4 floats into a texture, drop every bone as different pixels. Every 4 floats into a pixel, every bone into a separate pixel, and then just have all the frames, and you have a texture animation that's actually being used for optimization in some games. But you can use that to train how a humanoid moves, and then you can use that to teach how to make farther humanoid poses. What is the most sensible way to continue this texture if you only have some bits of the information? So this is why Cascadeur could be a thing already. It's a small subset of information that's extremely fast to do, unlike 3D model generation, which requires a lot more information.
Yeah, and that's when we were talking that earlier, the Cascadeur. And I was actually talking about how you're the one who me to it. And it's very, very cool tool. So I wanted to wrap things up for today with a couple little things that we've got left. First was the asset store sales. There was a New Year bundle that I knew about and I've shared. I did not realize that there was an art bundle for the Global Game Jam. It looks like it just kicked off while I was distracted. So I wanted to briefly share that. Anybody already grabbed this bundle and know if there's anything good in it?
Which one is it? There have been so many bundles lately. I've been starting to pick and choose.
Quick start mega bundle.
Yeah, I already got it. I think I have more than half of the elements from it already, because GUI Procreate is amazing casual game UI that you can use in many games. It comes with all sorts of UIs and sample scenes. The Cartoon FX remaster is for also toon-based 2D and 3D games where you can use the particle systems. The same with the 100 special skills effects. These two are great. And if you're making some kind of toon-based game, the Toon Fantasy Nature is always works great with stuff like that. Yeah. So I tested these ones. I'm still planning to test the Hype Poly Battle Royale to check to make some quick game with my kids for them to play with game that's more like fun to play with together, to test some side by side playing together. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is cool one. I didn't even see this one. I like it. I'm gonna have to grab this pack. I was gonna grab it anyway, but just for this one alone, this is I can see making some fun YouTube videos out of these characters. Andrew, you got to get your cute characters out soon.
It's true.
Yeah, you do.
It's true. I did do a poll on my current users on my Discord though, and they don't want it. they said it's not their style, and I said, well, that's good. Maybe it'll be other people's style though, and we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully the new people. And there's also this Lunar New Year's mega bundle that this one I did grab. Let me see.
And there's the Publisher of the Week thing too.
Oh,
yeah,
there is?
there's also nice. Each week that is Publisher of the Week. That's I think Medieval Village is free to get if you use the code that's in the publisher, and then there's quite a few fun assets that's there. Yeah, if you use the Medieval Village, there's a code, you can use it and you can have the free gift. But I always suggest to buy some of that assets because they are making quite nice poly-style assets.
Yeah, that's very cool. I didn't even realize they had that. I knew that there were the publisher sales, but I didn't realize that they were still continuous. I thought they were.
Yeah, each week, and each week there's a free gift and some amazing assets from the publishers.
I had no idea, and now I'm gonna have to start sharing that info. So that's very cool. All right, the other thing. Oh, actually, there are two things I wanted to talk about. Let me share this one first, though. The Kickstarter for Strain, which hopefully it looks like one person is backed since I shared it. Hopefully, more people go in there and kickstart it and back it now. You can also play the demo, right? You've uploaded the demo onto itch, which I believe is linked down below. You want to just give everybody a pitch and tell them to go grab it real quick?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's a first-person single-player survival game with a strong narrative element. The demo also has full voice acting, and they did like a really great job. So you get to meet some of the characters, check out the world and the gameplay a little bit, and hopefully you like it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. And like I said, you'll be able to go back and actually watch the development of this. Like you can go back 3 months on Twitch and then watch live as she's building out more of the game, which I think is really cool. If you want to see real game development done, go back the project and then just go become a member on Twitch. May as well. It's cheap and a good way to learn a whole lot. Like I said, see some real stuff in action and support somebody making a real game, which I think is freaking awesome. And then go ahead.
Just want to say thank you. Thanks very much.
Oh, yeah, you're very welcome. And thanks for coming out. Hopefully you can come back a whole bunch more. I've got one last thing I wanted to share, which if I can find the stupid tab, I can't. I'll just open up a new one, which was the course that I released earlier this week. So it is now up and available. You can go to there's a link down in the description. Go check it out. It's opening on the 13th. I'm going to go through all of the fundamentals of game development, from the very basics of learning how to write some basic code using source control, build automation, and building out some simple stuff all the way up to pretty advanced multiplayer game that we're going to be putting together. So you learn how to build multiplayer stuff, deal with a whole bunch of different types of systems, and write clean code along the way. If you're interested in that, you can check it out in the link. I'm not going to give a whole pitch on it. There's lots of stuff there. Go check it out. Email me if you have any questions about it. All right, that's all of my stuff. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to share before we wrap up and say goodbye to everybody?
Just talking about the Get Started Quick Start bundle. I am a glutton for particle effects, so I have all of them from that bundle already. The Toon Fantasy Nature Pack is also really, really nice. If you're just trying to get a quick scene going with some low poly models just jumping about, it's fantastic for like a demo scene. It's like really good. There was one question in chat that I wanted to answer, specifically because it's easy in quick. Carlos Amador asked why is the default color that is serialized is empty. It's because most serialized things, if you don't give them a starter value, go for their default, which is like zeros for everything. And a color that has zeros for everything, for red, green, blue, and alpha, is going to be an empty clear color. So there you go. You can just go and make your serialized field color equals color.white, and then you have a color with full alpha and all the things set to 1, or any color you wish. And yeah, that's it.
Good answer. All right, anything else?
Have a great day.
All right, well, thanks again, everybody. Please like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment down below. Let us know what you thought. If you got any questions, want to see something in the next stream, or anything else. All right, see you around. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.